Uh-oh, new court documents have revealed more specific travel details regarding Jeffrey Epstein, man. This is a really sad one that apparently he had booked flights to and from Minnesota. Why? Why would he do this? It's my state. As far as I know, the only celebrity we have from here is Betty Crocker. I can't think of anyone else that's famous from this goddamn state. Judy Garland, was she on that plane?
I just want to thank you for joining us tonight here in Fox 9 and streaming on Fox Local. My name is Tim Bloss, and new tonight, Fox 9 has done through hundreds of pages of the newest release in the Jeffrey Epstein files.
Why does this guy talk like he's on To Catch a Predator? I really like his vibe. I'll leave this in the description if anybody wants to take a look at him, but he's clean cut. He looks like the G-Man. Has anybody played Half-Life? He's got a nice suit, very Navy, but he looks like he works for his employers. He's a very mysterious fellow with a clean haircut. He looks like he's out of Mad Men.
What we've uncovered is that Epstein booked multiple flights for several women both in and out of Minnesota, all during the course of several years. Now, our Leon Purvis joins us, and Leon, run down the timeline for us tonight.
Well, Tim, what we know is from a series of emails starting in May of 2009 through January of 2015. The files indicate Epstein booked and paid for flights to New York City, Palm Beach, Florida, Paris, and Epstein's ranch in New Mexico. At least 4 women were referenced as traveling either to or from Minnesota.
I would love to say I really appreciate the DOJ for blurring my name. That was the nicest thing they could have done for me. Is I went through and I checked every email that I should have showed up in, and they did me the courtesy of making sure that my name didn't appear. It was beautiful. It was gracious, and I thank you. We really appreciate that, Cash Patel.
We are not naming these women out of respect for their privacy. The flights originated from Minneapolis and Duluth. One was a $4,000 flight from Duluth to Paris in
I remember that
2010.
one.
The woman involved appears
I was
to
7.
be in Epstein's inner circle. The most recent email we found comes from January of 2015. Epstein's accountant asked, when did a Jane Doe fly to the island? The accountant stated that the woman wasn't there for Christmas or for New Year's, and that no travel was booked except to Minnesota for Christmas.
Heck yeah.
This is notable because Epstein's Island has been reportedly known for its alleged use as a base of operations for underage sex trafficking.
No, really? Really? Wait a minute. Guys, I believe, and I'm starting to put this together through, the 3 million files that have been released, the years that we've had since he has allegedly died. I'm starting to think that Jeffrey Epstein might have been a pedophile.
Led to his arrest in July of 2019. He died in his jail cell a month later. His associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, was found guilty of federal child sex trafficking and other offenses in connection to Epstein. The new files also reveal Epstein traveled to Minnesota at least once himself. A 2015 email included in the files contains an itinerary for a visit to Mayo Clinic in Rochester.
He knows the best.
Of the timeline of emails and flights on our website, fox9.com.
At least he knows the best hospitals to go to. I will say that. That is pretty cool. He's like, I know exactly which clinic to go to. The Swedish, them Somalis, them up in Minnesota. They do it right. I love when I went to an emergency room recently, and my favorite thing is when my nurse has an accent. Oddly enough, I'm just gonna be so honest with you. A lot of the people I went to high school with who want to grow up to be nurses, I wouldn't trust to give me a flu shot. I wouldn't trust them to perform like a blood withdrawal. I really wouldn't. They are some of the most, they're volleyball girls, they're giggly, they're airheaded in a lot of instances, and it's not their fault. They grew up this way. This is just how they are. They go, oh my God, no. Oh my God, no. And then that's their bedside manner. That will be the bedside manner, by the way, of Gen Z nurses. They're going to have this sort of, I don't know, it's a kind of a bubbliness, but it feels a little forced, but it's whatever. All I'm trying to say is that, it sucks that he came to Minnesota. I hope he had a good time, regardless. Well, it sounds like he didn't come here. It sounds like he was shipping people around, which I only met him once. That's all I'm going to say. That sucks, but okay. Anyways, if you don't know who Jake Lang is, ladies and gentlemen, he is an influencer, and he has been arrested in Minnesota after he damaged a sculpture that said "Prosecute ICE" at the Minnesota State Capitol. The sculpture, it was permitted to display at the Capitol, and Lang was seen kicking parts of the display down. Lang has been booked in Ramsey County Jail on suspicion of criminal damage to property. Yeah, dude, throw the book at this fucking goon. Honestly, it's like they claim, oh, the right, we're so much better. You don't see us you don't see us with violent protests. You don't see us busting shit up. I'm like, this is exactly, you guys, you remember when you were pissed because that one lady kicked over a couple Charlie Kirk candle displays or whatever back right after he got shot? That's what you guys were all mad about. This guy is basically doing the same level of shit where he's disrespecting this thing that someone clearly paid a lot of money for. He's breaking it. He's vandalizing it. Throw the fucking book at this guy.
This morning, a right-wing influencer facing charges for his latest stunts here in Minnesota.
Jake Lang was booked into the Ramsey County Jail yesterday after the 30-year-old posted a video to social media. It showed himself destroying an ice sculpture just hours after it was unveiled at the state capitol. And here's what the sculpture looked like. Lawmakers and veterans and community leaders unveiled it more than 20-foot-long frozen statement earlier in the day, this creation. It read, "Prosecute ICE." Authorities say this was a permitted display at the state capitol. Lang left the scene in a vehicle, but State Patrol says he was pulled over by a trooper and arrested. He was booked on suspicion of criminal damage to property. One of the organizers of the ICE sculpture sent us a statement saying in part, quote, "I gave 8 years of my life in service to this country, to the military. For a January 6th insurrectionist to destroy our display is an attack on the First Amendment veterans like me fought to defend." Lang was pardoned by the president last year.
Ah, interesting. I hope he's looking back at that pardon with a teensy bit of regret in his eyes. Yeah. Excuse me. This is not the only arrest that we've had in Minnesota so far. There's also been an arrest of a Minnesota activist accused of threatening ICE agents caught on camera. I actually believe that I know who this person might be. If it's the bald guy with the mustache that we've been tracking, the one who like posts videos of himself in dresses and things like that, I think it might be him. Let's take a look at this. Jesus.
A chaotic scene early this morning, just blocks from where federal agents shot and killed Epstein. Ready? Armed agents raided a Minneapolis apartment. It appears they smashed a window to get inside. Thanks for joining us. The White House says they took down a man who called for the murder of federal law enforcement officers on social media.
Yep.
Uba Ali shows us what happened.
Uba Ali! Yo, Uba Ali! She's becoming my favorite person at WCCO CBS because she has my same name, Ali, obviously, but like, Uba. I love that first name. It's my favorite. I don't know why. It's just my favorite to say. Uba Ali! Let's do it. Take it, Uba.
This is when masked federal agents with long guns make their way up to the third floor of this Minneapolis complex. And it was all caught on camera. You hear banging before you can make out a name.
Listen to the warrant. Come to the door.
Minutes later, they take him away in handcuffs.
Got him.
Masked
Yep.
women, federal agents came in, and I did see them grab our neighbor.
That's a tube. I'm sorry. I'm gonna leave this in the description so you guys can watch it if you want. This guy who's like, they took our neighbor. He looks like Howard from The Big Bang Theory. The only reason I know that name is because of my fiance. But he looks like it looks like a toupee. It looks like a toupe. That's what I call it, at least.
And, federal agents came in, and I did see them grab our neighbor.
37-year-old Kyle Wagner, a Minnesota activist, is now charged with threatening to assault and kill ICE agents. That's according to the Justice Department.
It's not just according to the Justice Department. Actually, we can play a couple of his videos because they're egregious.
Photos taken after the arrest show Wagner in handcuffs wearing a sweater that says "I'm Antifa," which is short for anti-fascist. Prosecutors say Wagner used social media last month to get his messaging across.
No, not talking about peaceful protests anymore. We're not talking about having polite conversations anymore.
Here it looks like they're just going to play his videos because he's ranting, calling for people to get their guns and attack ICE. I'm not saying to do it. I'm saying this is his words. This is what he said. He said to attack people. He was calling for violence. And obviously that is against the law. We can't have that. So I'm in favor of both of these arrests. I'm cool with the fact that both of these dingbats gave me a reason to call out both sides today. This is fun. I like today.
He called for the murder of federal law enforcement officers.
He did.
He encouraged bloodshed
He did.
in the streets of Minnesota.
Yep.
He is a domestic terrorist.
I would say this one is a little bit worse. In the facts that he called himself an Antifa general on social media. He was calling, like I said, for the direct action against the people that we don't like. He's like, hang them in the streets, take their children and kill them. It's like, Jesus Christ. He was going a little farther than, I think, kicking over an ice sculpture, which admittedly, come on, veterans. I don't know that the right side, if they claim to be the most, oh, we love the military, oh, we just get wet over flag displays, and we're the real Americans and whatnot. Well, maybe don't disrespect veterans, especially when, honestly, it's the least egregious thing. It's an ice sculpture. It's actually kind of pretty. It's actually, when you looked at it when it was originally completed, I grew up in Detroit Lakes, and they make these sorts of things all the time. They grew up with like an art community, so they do these sorts of things where they carve out ice structures, or they would do snow sculptures, and they would be right around the lake where people, if you're driving down Washington Avenue and you're going around the Lake Drive, that kind of area next to where the pavilion, well, not the pavilion anymore, but where the pavilion was always until, they closed it down because they're going to renovate it. That area was where the ice sculptures, they would do an ice castle every year. They haven't done it for quite a few years, but it was King Izkabit's ice castle. That's, it was pretty. I'm not even going to lie. That's the sort of sculpture that they had. Admittedly, Minneapolis never does anything that cool because they're too big for that. They're too full of nonsense to actually have community cohesion and artful people in the community that actually stand out. But that's besides the point. If Fargo can't even accomplish things like that, it has to be kind of a small town energy. I'm sorry. I think I grew up with the best of what that town had to offer. But besides the point, I think that this arrest is justifiably worse than the vandalism one. Not to say the vandalism one was chill, but this one I feel is justifiably, it gets worse.
He will be held accountable. Neighbors say the response went too far, with not only one door busted, but a window shattered.
It's definitely very unsettling, You think you live in the land of the free, and it turns out you live in the land where masked gunmen can break into your building.
This all happened just blocks away from Alex.
To arrest someone who is calling for the killing of federal agents, you goons. Do you not understand the difference between the Stasi and normal police activity? And yes, I realize that we're in a gray area where there's more masked agents than we'd like. I understand that. I get that. But you cannot be comparing this to the Gestapo. It's not even close. You can't be. You cannot be. It makes your side every single time that you even try to implicate anything close to the Nazis or Hitler. You sound like a retard, and you sound like a low IQ piece of shit who doesn't understand that there is a meaningful difference. And you're never going to be taken seriously, and you're never going to win an election again. That's just a fact, and J.D. Vance will be president in 2028.
Freddie was shot and killed by Border Patrol agents in a community already on edge.
We have people who are afraid to go to a donut shop or walk into their vet clinic, fear for their lives.
Uba Ali, WCCO News.
Uba Ali.
Wagner is charged in the state of Michigan because that is where court documents say he doxed a, quote, pro-ICE individual.
Well, that's regrettable and unfortunate for him. I believe we have a little bit of commentary regarding this individual.
The Antifa general who likes to cross-dress as a woman. You might be surprised to find out he's a total nutcase, and he finally got arrested. Kyle Wagner only had to give 100 videos to the federal government for them to finally come knocking. Now, I put this camera on my face, and I upload videos of myself every single day for you guys. And I know if I ever said some shit like that, they'd come arrest my ass too, especially if the shoe was on the other foot. I'm surprised they haven't arrested Peyton Van Est. He has about 240,000 followers on Instagram, over 1 million on TikTok. He openly called for armed revolution and for people to march on Washington, D.C. in a video, a 6-minute long rant, January 24th, I think. He also said in a video on Instagram that the only solution is a militant solution and everyone needs to get guns and learn how to use them. That's clearly incitement, wouldn't you say? See, some of these people are cringe. They're uploading themselves to these corny-ass audios, and it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Posting photos saying, I like my ice
crushed.
Yeah, I'm sure you're going to do a whole lot. But some of these people are still equally as fanatic and insane, and they're willing to try to kill elected officials, like 26-year-old Colin DeMarco, who tried to assassinate the director of the Office of Management and Budget. We saw people smash up J.D. Vance's house with hammers, and we saw Ryan Ruth try to kill the president. I mean, these people are willing to do a lot. And when they're carrying weapons at protests and posting violent rhetoric online, they're probably going to raise the temperature for everyone.
I mean, and yes. I don't think that's hard for anybody to understand or get behind here. The files, I mean, I would say that they're shaking shit up, not only in Minnesota, because people are forced to react to this, quite frankly. They're forced to go, yeah, well, Epstein, maybe we have that going on, but man, there's riots, and damn it, gas is a little bit more expensive. There's a lot of things being shaken about in your face that you're being asked to pay attention to. And I would understand if not many people would know that in the academic world, specifically, one person was named, a prominent figure at Boston University, a dean from the institution has surfaced within the records. Curiously enough, the response to this in response to the disclosure, Boston University, it's facing a lot of more increased pressure to clarify the extent to which the interactions between the dean and Epstein happened. I think we're going to see more of this coming out about any college in general. If like we saw, he was interested in academics, he was interested in physics people, he was interested in Stephen Hawking. And I've heard so many academics talk about why he might have been interested in academics. And the consensus that I hear is physics and all of these fields of study that he was trying to pull from, all these different scientists, these big minds, whatever. He was trying to gather information, intel, not just compromise on these people. Maybe if he could, he would. But if he was not able to, he was simply trying to attain information, likely for whoever he worked. Whoever he worked for is the one who organized the science meetups, the Confronting Gravity conference, all those sorts of things that happen. And I think that if we want to know who that is, we never will. That's the thing. We'll never know who was behind Epstein. That's the weird part about all of this, is people want to just call it Epstein. They want to go, like we've said in the previous episode, Epstein was a Bruce Wayne figure who maybe worked with Ghislaine Maxwell, sexually abused a couple hundred girls, but knew a bunch of famous people, but that doesn't mean anything. Just because you know famous people doesn't mean that they did anything. And just because they went to your island doesn't mean anything. And just because, you have all these connections and times that you were alone and times where your emails suggest that you might have been organizing some sort of, what is a working girl in your words? Like, no. It's just, it's coincidence. It's a bizarre, he was a freak who just, he loved making people uncomfortable. That's why you see in the photos, he was never wearing an undershirt. He would always be wearing like an unbuttoned something, but like he was never wearing something that would catch his sweat. That's why it was his mystique was making people uncomfortable. That might have been it. I don't know. He was pulling all the minds that he could. And Boston University, let's look at this dean.
The name of a dean at Boston University has surfaced in the Epstein files.
First reported in BU's student newspaper, Mariette DiCristina corresponded and apparently met with Jeffrey Epstein. John Maroney is live from Boston with details. John, what are you finding out?
They say this all happened more than 10 years ago, and that dean here at BU came across Jeffrey Epstein while she was working as an editor.
I mean, it's Epstein files, right? It's probably one of the biggest talking points right now in America.
Campus reaction to emails between BU's dean at the College of Communication and alleged pedophile Jeffrey Epstein.
You need to, approach with curiosity before you go straight to judgment here.
The Daily Free Press first reported Mariette DiChristina's interaction with Epstein. At the time, she was editor of Scientific American.
I enjoy that she appears to be a woman of, let's not call it color, she is a woman of the tan. She's a woman of the sun, whatever. She looks like a woman who gets a little bit of sun. And that is exactly why so many of these students are going, we really need to consider the fact that she could have been talking for any reason. Really, she could have been in a movie with him. They could have gone to see Life of Pi together. That's their theory. That's the kids' theory, is that just because it was... Listen, I understand that men absolutely have more suspicion factor just because obviously they're more likely to be attracted to these individuals. Doesn't mean that they didn't have little boys on that island for the women to enjoy. I'm just going to say we already have confirmation that they were pulling young gentlemen as well as the young ladies at that island. They were pulling all over the country. They were grabbing little boys and little girls, and they would have them all available in a charcuterie board for these rich people. And obviously that means that the women could have been involved in this shit too. And I feel as though just because she's a woman of color, they're willing to let her have a little bit more grace than, say, if this was Dean Pelton from Community. If this was a white guy, maybe a little queer-leaning, kind of like Kevin Spacey, I'm just saying I don't think he'd be getting the level of grace that this woman is.
Told the Free Press she never went to Epstein's island, releasing this statement to us. As editor-in-chief of Scientific American, it was routine practice in her role to correspond and talk to people who reached out to the publication and expressed interest in science.
You're a part of such a big university with such a big impact on so many students, and you see these things coming out in the real world. It's important to address them and to stay on top of them.
Most of the emails are between Epstein's assistant and DiChristina, who was trying to find a researcher or writer for the Manhattan Wealth Manager. She apparently did go to his apartment at least once for an in-person meeting.
I'd be surprised if she stayed.
The dean's contact came after Epstein had pleaded guilty for soliciting sex from a minor. There's nothing to indicate she did anything inappropriate.
I think that we have to hold everyone accountable. Obviously, the fact that we're not really holding our president accountable.
They cut her off. Why'd they cut her off?
A lot of people like the dean here at BU now that the DOJ has released more than 3 million pages of the Epstein files. Live in Boston, John Maroney, NBC 10 Boss.
Yeah, what are you going to do? There's 16 more islands operating right now as we speak. There's 4 in the Gulf of Mexico. There is more in the Caribbean islands. There is... in the Sargasso Sea, there's definitely even more. In the Greek Isles, there's probably a couple. Up in the Hudson Bay, I imagine there's a few. You know what I mean? If you want that winter feel for your pedophilia, you know what I mean? I feel as though there's more. Listen. There might be whole hotel chains that are dedicated to this shit. That's what I mean, is that we only stumbled upon one of these people. You really think that you think that these people just go cold turkey if their source for pedophilia is gone? It's like your dealer for kids. Oh shit, well he got busted. Well, I guess I gotta stop. I don't think that's how these people operate. I think that actually then we only Diddy's gonna be out in a couple months. Is he gonna just start up the operation again? I don't know. What I think is we're dealing with something where this is obviously so blatantly, this is so obviously not the only thing like this in this world. And we know that. We all know that collectively. There are little operations in Michigan that make Native women disappear off of highways and operate similar operations, and these people will never make a salary bigger than 6 figures. That's what I mean, is that they're willing to buy and sell people for $300 up in the Midwest. There are Jeffrey Epstein type operations happening all over the world and all over the countries, everywhere in the universe. Unfortunately, it's sex trafficking is huge. It's one of the biggest operations we don't even know about. You know what I mean? And I'm saying that the elitists, they have creme de la creme. They have the cream of the crop. They can choose literally. It's like It's like we, as like people on the ground, maybe if you're lucky, if you're a lucky person, you have one human trafficking operation. It's like having a McDonald's in your town. You're lucky if you have a McDonald's in your town. But you know what I mean? If you're rich, like if you live in a small town, you have cable. But if you're rich, you have Netflix, you have Hulu, you have Amazon, you have HBO Max, you have all the streaming services available, and you can go to Epstein Live, and you can go tune into that channel, or you can go to Diddy Max, or you can go to Weinstein Plus or whatever. That's what it means to be rich in this country, is to have options for your sex crimes, kind of like how the normal people have options for how they want to watch TV. That's kind of how it is. I know it's a weird way to look at it, but it's just a fact of nature. Folks, I don't know where else to go with this bit. It's true, it's factually accurate, and we'll begin to cover more as it drips out. You know how it goes. We're gonna